Hello everyone, I'm John A, and today we're going to be talking about choosing your main legend in Season 12. We'll be covering a variety of topics ranging from the basics to my personal suggestions for you. After watching this video, I guarantee that you will start winning a lot more often. So let's dive right in. Now, if you're serious about actually improving at Apex, then you must check out the GameLeap website right now. We have a weapons masterclass, courses to improve your mechanics, and guides for every single meta legend in the game. Hit the link below in the description box to take advantage of our 50% off sale so that you can take your game to the next level. The first step to picking your main really comes down to the question, what is your playstyle? Because if you have an extremely aggressive playstyle but play Lifeline, well, more than likely you'll be the first to get downed on your team because you don't have an out. There's no escape, and in turn will be throwing because you won't be able to use her passive, which is the whole point of Lifeline, really. However, if you're a very passive type of player who wants to play from a distance, then, well, Octane probably isn't the best choice either. You have to choose a character that will complement your playstyle so you can become a true asset to your team. Now, essentially there's three types of playstyles: aggressive, defensive, and support. And honestly, often some of the legends can blend the different playstyles depending on the situation. Take Gibby for example. He's essentially a tank due to his size and passive, which means he's great for leading the charge and playing a bit more of an aggressive role by drawing all the fire to him, allowing his teammates to follow up. He also is good at the aggressive role due to how much space he can take with his abilities. However, clearly, overall, Gibby is actually a support legend. Well, he's actually a defense legend, but really he's a support legend. He can create the strongest cover in the game instantly and revive teammates faster while they're inside of its wall. He can also drop his ultimate to halt enemy pushes to buy your team time. His kit is very simple, but it's actually very strong and versatile. And none of the other quote-unquote defensive legends can achieve what he achieves, which is why he's more like a support role. Another example of a legend who can play multiple roles is Horizon. Obviously, she's an offensive legend and should be played that way, but her tactical allows her to get her team to high ground almost instantly. You also can use it on a down teammate to get them out of a fight so they don't get finished, or you could use it in a building on a door to block enemies from coming in when they're trying to push in on your hurt lifeline. My point is that many of the abilities in Apex can be used in a multitude of ways for different playstyles, so you have to ask yourself, what do you prefer in general as a playstyle, and in what ways could you use some of the legend's abilities to support your team, and is supporting your team in that way something you want to do or something that you enjoy? Keep these things in mind as you try out different legends. For example, if you want to support your team by being able to get them into and out of the fight, Octane is a great choice. Same thing for Ashe. And these are also legends that let you be a bit more aggressive as well, particularly Octane because of his stim. With his stim, you always have an out essentially, meaning you can make more risky aggressive moves. And it's the same case for Wraith. Because of her tactical, pretty much has a get out of jail free card, which again allows you to really reposition and make riskier moves that other legends would not be able to do because they would just die. And these are just things to keep in mind as you try out different legends. Now, the next question you have to ask yourself is, what are your goals? Do you want to get to Predator? Are you just trying to pub stomp with your friends? Or do you want to solo no-fill and just try 1v3ing everything constantly? Here are some tips depending on what goals you choose. If you want to push ranked and get as high as possible, then, well, you need to play the meta. Characters like Wraith, Gibby, Bloodhound, Valkyrie, Ashe, and Caustic, for example. There is, of course, some options that can substitute those meta-aggressive characters, such as Octane, Horizon, and Maggie even, and those characters would essentially replace your Wraith or your Ashe. But when it comes to ranked, it's super important that you play the meta. There's a reason that certain characters are used so often in higher ranks. And if you're playing a Rampart into a team that's using a Gibby, Wraith, and a Valkyrie, you are hindering yourself and making it much harder to achieve your goals. And I will say with this, if you are trying to push ranked, it's good to have multiple characters because you have to be able to play characters that will fill in spots for your team. If you're solo queuing and you don't have a recon legend on your team, you should probably play a recon legend for that round because being able to see where the next ring is incredibly important. Now, if you want to play solo no-fill and become a 1v3 god, then your best option is always going to be a mobility legend. Wraith, Octane, Valkyrie, Horizon, Bangalore, and Maggie, and even Ash. These characters make it easier to be unpredictable, have decent sized hitboxes, and they help you to reposition, which is essentially the name of the game when it comes to 1v3 situations. However, even though these legends will be stronger for the solo no-fill gameplay, that honestly, you can pretty much 1v3 with any character if you can learn to play them well enough. It's just going to make it harder if you're not using a mobility legend. That does, however, lead me to my next point. What legend is most fun for you? That's probably the legend you should play in general, because playing Apex is about having fun. I mean, unless you're doing tournaments. But if you're playing a legend you hate because you feel you have to, that's not a fun experience, and more than likely, you will perform worse because of it. You don't have to play Wraith just because she's S tier if Octane is your favorite character to play. Just play Octane. And alongside this, I'd also like to note, don't worry about stigma. Who cares what people think of Octane players? That doesn't mean you have to play the same way that all those Octane players play. Now, for my last and final tip is simple. Give each legend a chance. I never ever thought I would enjoy playing Caustic. After months of avoiding him, I finally decided to give him a try, and guess what? I had a blast playing him. Now I pick him more regularly. In fact, the same was the case for Watson and Crypto. These are all legends I never thought I would play, but actually turned out to really enjoy. Now, some legends you just won't vibe with, and I get that. But I'd say at least try each legend up to 50 kills, get a grasp on the different ways their abilities can be used, and to see if you actually might like the legend in the end. There are plenty of times I hated a character at first, but just learn to love them. Really, I'd say 50 to 100 kills will get you a general idea of how the character plays as a whole, and from there you can make your decision to main them, or have them as a secondary main, or just to never ever play them again. Also, again, I recommend picking 2 characters to main. Of course, that would be your first and second choices. This is only due to the fact that sometimes it can get stale, so you need to change it up, because there's been so many times where I've been just playing character all day and I start playing really horribly, and then I switch characters and then I go back to playing great again. Sometimes things just get stale and you just need a change of pace. But also, sometimes you'll have to fill a different role, or maybe your main character gets taken. Having 2 is probably best at first, and as you improve at the game and put more time in, you can focus on having a third. I hope this video has helped you to pick out your main. I know it can be hard to do sometimes, but there's no rush. Remember, just enjoy the game and the characters you choose first and foremost. Now, I know I said that was the last tip, but I like to deliver when I'm trying to help you guys out, so I've got one more bonus tip for you guys, and this is especially for you underdog legends out there. This involves legends like Rampart, Mirage, Watson, and Revenant. These legends all have 2 things in common: low pick rates, and secondly, they have their heirlooms. The reason this is important is because there have been many sources pointing out that once a legend gets their heirloom, which usually comes with a buff, it's very unlikely that they will get tuned in the near future, or any additional buffs for that matter. So if you want to main one of these legends, you absolutely can. And in fact, I encourage it, as playing more difficult legends will help you to improve your fundamentals as a whole. Just be warned, you may be in for the long haul if you're waiting for a buff. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there is always hope at the end of the tunnel. But just remember, if you love the legend, nothing should stop you from playing it. You can make it work as long as you're willing to put the time and effort to do so. There are some insane players that main these characters, and that's just proof that it can be done. And before I head out, make sure to join us on GameLeap right now for hundreds more pro guides at a 50% discount by hitting the link in the description box.